They say money can't buy class, but I never truly understood that until I watched a bride destroy herself in front of 400 guests. What she didn't know was that the woman she was humiliating had more power than she could ever imagine. My name is Miriam, and this is my story. Hi everyone, I'm Miriam, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel where I share real stories from my life as a wedding planner. Before we dive into today's story, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell because trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. This story will shock you, inspire you, and maybe even make you think twice about how you treat others. Today, I'm sharing something that happened to me just 6 months ago at what should have been the wedding of the year. It was supposed to be a celebration of love, but it turned into something I'll never forget. And if you stay until the end, you'll understand why sometimes the universe has a way of delivering justice in the most unexpected ways. I've been planning weddings for 8 years now, and I thought I'd seen everything. Bridezillas, demanding mothers-in-law, last-minute disasters, you name it, I've handled it. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened at the Whitmore estate that beautiful Saturday in spring. The bride, let's call her Caroline, came from old money. The kind of wealth that's been in families for generations, where your worth is measured by your last name and your social connections. She hired me 6 months before her wedding, and from our very first meeting I knew she was going to be challenging. Caroline had this way of looking at people like they were beneath her. When she spoke to me, it was never a conversation. It was always commands. "Miriam, I need this," or "Miriam, fix that." Never please, never thank you. Just expectations that I would jump at her every word because she was paying me. The wedding was set to take place at her family's estate, a sprawling property with manicured gardens that stretched as far as the eye could see. We're talking about a venue that could easily host 500 people, with rose gardens, a lake, and even a small chapel. It was absolutely breathtaking, the kind of place most people only dream of getting married in. For months, I worked tirelessly on every detail. Caroline wanted perfection, and I was determined to give it to her. We had white roses flown in from Ecuador, a string quartet from Vienna, and a chef who had cooked for royalty. The guest list included senators, CEOs, and celebrities. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a social event that would be talked about for years. But here's the thing about working with people like Caroline. No matter how hard you try, it's never enough. Every conversation became a criticism. The flowers weren't white enough. The music wasn't classy enough. The food wasn't sophisticated enough. And somehow, everything that went wrong became my fault. I remember one particularly difficult day, 2 weeks before the wedding. Caroline called me at 6 in the morning, screaming because the linens I'd ordered were ivory instead of pure white. "Miriam, are you trying to ruin my wedding? This is completely unacceptable. I'm paying you to get things right, not to give me problems." I spent the entire day calling suppliers, finding new linens, and arranging rush delivery. By evening, I was exhausted, but I had fixed the problem. Did Caroline thank me? Of course not. She just moved on to the next thing she wanted to complain about. My friends kept asking me why I didn't just quit. The truth is, I'm not a quitter. When I take on a project, I see it through to the end. Plus, I genuinely love what I do. There's something magical about bringing two people's dream wedding to life, even when one of those people makes your life miserable in the process. The morning of the wedding dawned absolutely perfect. The sun was shining. There was a gentle breeze, and the gardens looked like something out of a fairy tale. I arrived at the estate at 5 in the morning to oversee the final preparations. The florists were setting up the ceremony arch, the caterers were preparing the reception area, and everything was falling into place beautifully. I should have known it was too good to last. Around noon, just 2 hours before the ceremony, Caroline came storming out of the bridal suite. She was still in her robe, her hair half done, and she looked absolutely furious. I was standing near the ceremony area, making sure the chairs were perfectly aligned, when I heard her voice cutting through the peaceful garden atmosphere. "Miriam, get over here right now." I hurried over, my heart already sinking. In 8 years of wedding planning, I'd learned to recognize that tone. Something was very wrong. "The photographer says the lighting by the lake isn't good enough for the sunset photos," Caroline snapped. "How could you not think of this?" This is basic wedding planning. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Caroline, we discussed the photo timeline months ago. The photographer approved all the locations during our site visit. If the lighting has changed, we can easily adjust. Don't you dare make excuses, she interrupted, her voice getting louder. I'm paying you a fortune to handle these details. This is your job. By now, guests were starting to arrive. I could see them in the distance. Elegant women in designer dresses and men in perfectly tailored suits, all turning to look at the commotion. Caroline's voice was carrying across the gardens, and I felt my cheeks burning with embarrassment. I'm sorry, Caroline. Let me talk to the photographer right now and we'll figure out a solution, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, but Caroline wasn't done. In fact, she was just getting started. You know what, Miriam? I'm tired of your incompetence. Do you have any idea how important this day is? Do you understand that there are senators here, business leaders, people who matter? The way she said, people who matter, felt like a slap in the face. As if I didn't matter. As if my feelings, my effort, my months of hard work meant nothing because I wasn't part of her social circle. More guests were gathering now, pretending to admire the flowers while obviously listening to every word. I could see the bridesmaids peeking out from the bridal suite, and even some of the groomsmen had stopped their conversations to watch the drama unfold. Maybe, Caroline continued, her voice dripping with disdain, I should have hired someone more qualified. Someone who actually knows what they're doing instead of some small-town wedding planner who's clearly in over her head. That hurt. More than I expected it to. I'd built my business from nothing, working 18-hour days, missing family gatherings, sacrificing my own social life to make other people's dreams come true. And here was Caroline, reducing all of that to some small-town wedding planner. Caroline, please, I said quietly, hoping to diffuse the situation. The guests are arriving. Don't tell me what to do, she snapped. You work for me, remember? You're the help. And right now, you're failing at your job. The word help hung in the air like a poison cloud. The guests weren't even pretending to look away anymore. They were openly staring, some looking horrified, others seeming almost entertained by the spectacle. I felt tears stinging my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of all these people. I'd worked too hard to build my reputation to let Caroline destroy it in one moment of cruelty. I understand you're stressed, I said, somehow managing to keep my voice level. It's your wedding day and you want everything to be perfect. Let me go fix the photography situation right now. But Caroline stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss that somehow felt more threatening than her shouting. You don't understand anything, Miriam. You're not like us. You don't belong in this world, and it shows. I should have known better than to trust someone like you with the most important day of my life. Someone like me. The words echoed in my head as I stood there, feeling smaller and smaller under her gaze, and the stares of 400 guests who were now witnessing my complete humiliation. I was about to respond, to somehow salvage what was left of my dignity, when I heard a commotion near the estate's main entrance. A convoy of black cars was pulling up the circular driveway, and I could see security personnel getting out of the lead vehicle. At first, I thought it might be some important political figure or celebrity arriving fashionably late, but as the middle car door opened, my heart stopped. It was my husband. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I mention him before? The truth is, we'd agreed to keep our marriage private for exactly this reason. He's not just wealthy. He's what you might call stupidly wealthy. The kind of man whose business decisions affect entire industries, whose name appears on buildings and in newspapers. When we got married 2 years ago, we decided that I would continue my career under my maiden name, living as normally as possible while he handled his empire. He was supposed to be in Tokyo for a board meeting. I had no idea he was even in the country, let alone walking across the gardens of the Whitmore estate in his perfectly tailored suit, flanked by what I now realized were his security team. The entire wedding party, bride, groom, guests, vendors, everyone stopped what they were doing and turned to watch this unexpected arrival. You could have heard a pin drop in that garden. Caroline's mouth fell open. She obviously recognized him. Everyone in our social and business circles knew who he was. What she didn't know was why he was here. My husband's eyes found mine across the garden, and I saw something I rarely saw in his usually calm demeanor. Anger. Cold, controlled anger. He walked directly toward us, and I watched Caroline's entire demeanor change. Gone was the cruel, commanding woman who had been humiliating me moments before. Suddenly she was all smiles and nervous energy, smoothing her robe and trying to look presentable. "Mr. Harrison," she gushed, using his last name with the kind of reverence usually reserved for royalty. "What an unexpected honor. I had no idea you were, welcome to our wedding." My husband, let's call him Jonathan, didn't even look at her. His attention was entirely focused on me, and I could see him taking in my red-rimmed eyes, my shaking hands, the way I was holding myself like someone who'd just been attacked. "Miriam," he said softly, his voice carrying that gentle tone he used when he was trying to comfort me. "Are you all right?" The concern in his voice, so different from Caroline's harsh commands, nearly broke me. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Only then did Jonathan turn to Caroline, and the temperature in the garden seemed to drop 10 degrees. "I apologize for the interruption," he said, his voice perfectly polite but with an edge that made everyone uncomfortable. "I was in the area and thought I'd stop by to check on my wife's work. She's been telling me about this wedding for months." The word wife hit the crowd like a physical blow. I heard gasps, whispers, and what sounded like someone dropping a champagne glass. Caroline's face went through about 5 different expressions in the span of 3 seconds. Confusion, disbelief, horror, and finally, a kind of desperate panic. "Your wife?" she stammered. "Yes," Jonathan said, moving to stand beside me and taking my hand. "Miriam is my wife. And from what I just witnessed, it seems like you have some very strong opinions about her qualifications." The silence that followed was deafening. 400 guests, all watching Caroline realize that she had just spent the last 20 minutes publicly humiliating one of the most powerful men in the country's wife. The woman she had called the help was married to someone who could buy and sell her family's estate without blinking. I didn't know," Caroline whispered, and for the first time since I'd met her, she looked genuinely afraid. "No," Jonathan agreed. "You didn't know. But that's not really the point, is it? The point is how you choose to treat people, regardless of who they are or who they're connected to." He turned to address the crowd, his voice carrying easily across the garden. "I've built my career on the principle that you can judge a person's character by how they treat those who can't fight back, how they treat people they think are beneath them." The guests were hanging on every word. This was better than any entertainment they could have imagined. "My wife," Jonathan continued, "has spent months creating what should be a perfect day for you. She's worked 18-hour days, handled every crisis, solved every problem, and in return, you've chosen to humiliate her in front of your guests." Caroline looked like she might faint. "Please, I was just stressed. I didn't mean—" "You meant every word," Jonathan said firmly. "Don't insult my intelligence by pretending otherwise." He turned back to me, his expression softening. "Pack up your things, sweetheart. We're leaving." "But the wedding," I protested weakly. "We'll proceed without you," he said. "You've done your job. The flowers are beautiful, the setup is perfect, and the vendors know what to do. You don't need to stay here and be treated like this." As we started to walk away, I heard Caroline's voice, high and desperate. "Wait! Please, I'm sorry. I was completely wrong. Please don't go. I need you here." Jonathan paused and turned back to her. "You know what the really sad part is? You didn't need Miriam here. You need her to want to be here. You need her to care about your day, and you've made sure that will never happen." As we walked toward his car, I could hear the buzz of conversation exploding behind us. 400 guests all talking at once, processing what they'd just witnessed. Some were laughing, some seemed shocked, and I'm pretty sure I heard more than one person say they couldn't wait to tell their friends about this. The wedding went on without me. I heard later that it was beautiful, that everything went according to plan, and that the vendors handled the few minor issues that came up. Caroline got her perfect day, just without the person who had made it possible. But here's what I learned from that experience. How people treat you when they think you have no power tells you everything you need to know about their character. Caroline didn't humiliate me because I made mistakes. She humiliated me because she thought she could get away with it. The irony is that I never wanted or needed her to know about my personal life. I took pride in succeeding on my own merits, in building a business based on my skills and reputation. But sometimes the universe has a way of delivering justice when you least expect it. I still plan weddings, I still work with demanding clients and handle crisis after crisis, but I'm much more careful about who I choose to work with. Life's too short to spend it being treated badly by people who think your worth is determined by your bank account or your social connections. The truth is, we're all just human beings trying to make our way in the world. Some of us have more money, some have more power, some have more connections. But none of that changes the basic fact that we all deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. So here's my advice. Be kind to people. You never know what someone's story is, what they're going through, or what they might be capable of. The person you dismiss as just the help might surprise you. And if you're ever tempted to treat someone badly because you think they can't fight back, remember Caroline's wedding day. Remember that moment when she realized she'd been cruel to someone who didn't deserve it, and how that realization felt. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to hear more stories from my life as a wedding planner, subscribe and ring that notification bell. Trust me, I have plenty more where this came from. Remember, kindness costs nothing, but it's worth everything. I'm Miriam, and I'll see you in the next video.